Hello my dear health seekers, Inga from Health Origins here, and welcome to week 2 of my meal prep for weight loss series. I hope you enjoyed the first week. I hope you got some ideas, and I can't wait to dig in a second week of meal prep. And I actually left it quite late. I've only got about 2.5 hours to meal prep this weekend, so let's see what we can make in that time. And I have 2 exciting meat replacement recipes for you this time, because Mark, I don't know if you know this, Mark, before us turning vegan, was quite an avid meat eater. If I ever made a meal without a meat, he would say, well, where's the main dish, right? So he wouldn't take a meal that didn't have meat as a main dish. So now he loves being vegan. He loves vegan food. The only thing he sometimes misses, he said, is just the texture of meat, something to bite into. So that's what I'm gonna be cooking today. One of the recipes is actually seitan roast. So let's begin. I've got my ingredients here, so I'm gonna have 2 different kinds of ingredients, so dry mix and also wet mix, and then we're obviously going to combine it in a food processor. So I wanted to first put all the dry ingredients together and all the wet ingredients together. So for the dry ingredients, we have 2¼ cups of vital wheat gluten. So it's wheat gluten. You can get that in specialist shops or online. I buy mine at buywholefoodsonline.com, and I'll link you to that site for you. But it's 2¼ cups of that vital wheat gluten. Then I've got a teaspoon of pepper that I'm going to add on. Then I've got 2 teaspoons of sea salt, or well, actually this is Himalayan, so you could use any sea salt or Himalayan would work. So 2 teaspoons of salt. Then I've got a tablespoon of garlic powder. So I'll get my tablespoon of garlic powder here. About that. And the recipe that I'm looking at, it's asking for onion powder. However, I don't have onion powder, so I normally would, but I need to order some. So I'll be improvising with onion relish instead, that we'll put with the wet ingredients. So then another dry ingredients is 2 teaspoons of paprika. So we've got 2 teaspoons of paprika here, and 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika. So teaspoon of smoked paprika, see, it's a difference in color completely. So bright and red. So 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika. Then we've got 1/4 cup of nutritional yeast powder in here. Then I'm gonna add and bouillon powder. So I've got like a vegan stock powder here, 1 teaspoon of stock powder here. So I'm gonna just add a teaspoon. It might seem a lot of kind of salt and stock, but we're making quite a big amount, and you need to really flavor seitan because the gluten is just flavorless. So by adding a lot of spices, a lot of different pastes and things, you're adding a lot of flavor to that. So this is it. So this is our dry ingredients. So now that the dry ingredients are mixed, we're going to be getting on with our wet ingredients. So we're going to need 1 tablespoon of liquid smoke. So I'm going to measure that out. And, sorry, so to start with, I've got a jug with a cup and a half of water. So this is cup and a half of water here, of cold water. So a tablespoon of liquid smoke, so that will give the seitan the smokiness we want. Then I've got barbecue sauce, so we need about 2 tablespoons of barbecue sauce here. So 1, 2, and then because I didn't have onion powder, I'm going to be adding a tablespoon of onion relish instead to give that onion flavor that we would have gotten from the onion powder. So a tablespoon of onion relish. Then I'm adding additional bits of that I kind of would like to add is a tablespoon of tomato puree to give this kind of a little bit of tanginess, and a tablespoon of miso paste. If you don't have those, then you can omit them. I think it will work just without that, but I just want to add those as an extra because recipe calls for 2 tablespoons of oil, and oil obviously delivers the taste, gives a little bit extra wetness. So I'm adding these 2 tablespoons, one of miso paste and one of tomato puree just instead of the oil. So a tablespoon of miso here. It honestly might feel to you that it's just over flavored. There's lots of kind of pastes and flavorings and everything, but trust me, you really need to flavor seitan for it to actually taste of anything. Otherwise it'll be just kind of like tasteless bread, if you like, because it's gluten. That's all it is. It's the strands of gluten taken from wheat basically to make it kind of create a texture of meat we want, that gumminess, that bite we're after. So that's it. You can mix it with a little whisk. I prefer actually a whisk to make sure it's oh, I forgot one very important ingredient: 2 tablespoons of peanut butter. So there is a little bit of natural fat in this with peanut butter. So there's normally oil at the top of the jar, but I'll put 2 tablespoons of peanut butter in there just to give that bit of fat to the whole recipe, and I'm gonna mix it in a whisk. It'll kind of emulsify that liquid more. And the best way to combine the wet and the dry is in the food processor, or if you've got bread maker with the dough hooks, that would work as well, but you would need to initially blend these. So I've got 2 other ingredients that I haven't mentioned yet. So this is a cup and a half of chickpeas, and this is 400 grams of hard or firm tofu, right? So a tofu block. So these gonna go in together with the lot. So I've got 3 bits that I need to mix up. So let's go on to mixing. The food processor that I'm using today, or that I use normally, is Sage. So I'll link for you in the description below. It's a nice kind of sturdy and solid food processor. I like it. So let's blend the 1.5 cups of chickpeas. And a 400 grams block of tofu here. So I'm gonna just chunk it down a little bit. Gonna put my lid on, and I'm gonna blend it until it's kind of a smooth paste, if you like. So it's been about 45 seconds, and it's starting to kind of form like clumps, more like dough probably. So I'm gonna just add the wet ingredients into this. So wet ingredients, and I'm gonna blend again. So I blended it for about 25 seconds or so. So now you can see it's a uniform kind of thick dough consistency. Not dough, but like a, well, the pourable dough if you like. And now I'm gonna be just adding the vital wheat gluten with the mixture, well, basically our wet ingredients. I'm just gonna add them, distribute them around the bowl, and we're gonna start blending, and it'll start turning into dough because the gluten will get activated with the liquids. So it's been about 30 seconds, and now it's getting thick and my blade is struggling to do that amount. So I think I'm gonna half the dough because it's very thick. Well, it's kind of nice and soft, the dough, but it's actually, you know, quite thick, and the blade is struggling a little bit. So what I'll do, I'll half the dough, and I'm gonna put the actual dough hook in there, dough blade. So let my dough go for about another half a minute, and it's getting nice and rolled here into one ball. So that's ready to be put in the oven. So I'm gonna start preheating my oven on 180 degrees. So I've got a piece of foil, and I don't like to put my seitan straight onto the foil, so I'll put a piece of baking paper on top of that, you know, parchment paper. And I've got my half a dough here, so I'm just shaping it and forming it into some kind of roast shape that I want. The recipe that I got it from was actually doing ribs, so what you could do, you could shape it kind of into a ribs shape, and you could kind of cut maybe little kind of incisions into it so that it resembles ribs more. But I'm just going for a roasted kind of piece, one piece more. So I'm just gonna shape it in like oblong shape like this. And gonna wrap it with my parchment paper first, and don't wrap it too tightly because it'll need a little bit of space to expand, but you don't want to leave it too loose either. So just wrapping it up. I made a tear in my foil a little bit, but that should be fine. And you wrap that up the best you can. You can even double wrap it as well. So that's one parcel, and I'm gonna you know, knead the dough for a little bit with this one and do the same. So I've got both of these ready. I'm gonna place them in my roasting tin here, and I'm gonna fill the roasting tin with about half of, you know, to reach the half of these bakes in here with water. And I'm gonna put a lid on and put it to steam, to steam roast in the oven for an hour. And while my seitan is roasting in the oven, I'm gonna be pressure cooking some kidney beans, and we're also gonna be getting on with another of the meat replacement recipes that I have for you, which is BBQ Jackfruit. So let's do that. So first of all, let's prepare jackfruit. So I've got 2 tins of young jackfruit in water. You don't want like sweetened or anything, you just want plain jackfruit. And I've got 2 tins and they are each 400 grams, but drained weight is 200, so about half of that. So what you want to do, I always, if I'm gonna use the tin to pour the water out, I always wash the tin. So I washed and dried the tin, because you don't know who touched it, if there was, you know, rats or mice running on them or anything. You don't want to get you know, ill from it. So so I'll open the tin and I'm gonna just use that to drain the water out. Our jackfruit here, and then I'm gonna pour it onto my chopping board, and we're gonna kind of chop it into smaller pieces so that they kind of fall apart easier. So what you want to do, you want to cut through more through this root bit here, so that this one is fine, because it's just falling apart really. So I can just divide that. But if you've got a bit of a thicker bit at the start there, if you kind of cut it into a couple of smaller pieces, then they'll fall apart easier. So yeah, just you want to cut through the harder bits. And some bits you'll find there's like some seed pods as well. This is actually quite nice, it's peeling away. Yeah, so just try and make a feel for it, see if it's kind of fallen to pieces. And if you see any seed pods that are bigger, just kind of chop through them a little bit. So it's been an hour. These have been steaming in the oven with the lid closed. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pour the water out now, and we're going to unwrap the parcels so we can glaze them in the glaze we're going to be just making in a minute. So I've drained the water, so now carefully unwrap them. Yeah, they have expanded a bit, and we obviously want to make sure that it's going to be open now when we're going to be finishing baking them with the glaze on. So the glaze is about a third of a cup of barbecue sauce. So I'm gonna add that there. Got my basting brush, and we're gonna add about a couple of tablespoons of sweet chili sauce as well. Just mix that through. And then I'm going to add a teaspoon of smoked paprika as well for that extra smokiness. Actually, I'll do half a teaspoon, and mix that in. And I'm going to now liberally coat these bakes, these seitan bakes, because this is to be BBQ Seitan Roast after all, so it needs to have a good amount of barbecue sauce glaze on it. So I think I'm gonna just need to make sure that the paper doesn't obstruct it roasting. So there, and while I glaze this, I heat up my oven a little bit more to 200 degrees, because I was steaming those on 180 degrees before, but now I want to crank it up to 200 so it proper caramelizes and grills a little bit. So just basting both with liberal amounts of barbecue glaze here. That looks good. And I'm gonna be now placing this into the oven for another 30 minutes. Look at these beauties. They're looking great. So now we need to slice one and to taste test it. So let's give it a go. By the way, these are great. The silicone kind of, I don't know what you call these. Anyway, they're quite great because they're quite slim and they're good to take things out of the Instant Pot as well. I'll link to them where I bought them on Amazon. That's looking super delicious. So let me try and slice a piece. Yeah, it's quite soft, but it's sliceable, but obviously it's still hot. So you want to let it cool a bit. I'll slice a few little slices and we'll do a little taste test. So now to taste testing this BBQ Seitan Roast.
Yay!
I've got my lovely husband here to help me out with this tedious task.
Always ready to serve.
Yeah.
Wow. Tastes good. I think the texture is slightly lacking.
I think
It's a bit soft.
you know, basically, it's kind of more like what would you say that texture is? More like canned kind of meat or something like that. I think because I've added quite a bit of chickpeas and quite a bit of tofu, it ended up quite a soft roast, which is, I don't mind that. Actually, I don't like it too rubbery.
Oh, it's nice, but I'm just saying the texture is not.
It's really tasty. I like the taste. It's not your kind of beef kind of texture, you know, it's like softer. I think if you add, you know, the tofu and the chickpeas that I added, you probably need about an extra cup of white, I can't even see.
Come on.
Vital wheat gluten, right?
I know what she was going to say. That's why it's funny.
I've mixed my W's and B's, right? Because in Lithuania we don't have no W's, so it's like So, anyways,
It's still funny.
well, you seem to be liking it, huh?
It tastes really good. It's really nice. It's just as a seitan, you would want to kind of
A little bit kind of
tougher.
more bite,
yeah, kind of more bite to it, where it's more like a
not loaf,
almost
calma, kind of.
Yeah, kind of maybe a you know, bread that you dip in soup. That kind of.
There you go, guys. BBQ Seitan bready texture. Yeah.
And it tastes lovely.
So yeah, so if you try this, add another cup. If you do it exactly like how I've done it, add a cup of gluten to that mixture, or do either with just tofu or with chickpeas, one or the other. Because I wanted to use both, I've kind of went for it, and it ended up being not quite the seitan-y, you know, firmer texture that you probably are after to get that meal replacement kind of texture. But yeah, taste-wise, it's delicious. And we've got plenty of this to last us a week now. So if you give this a try, let us know what you thought of it. So now I've preheated my Zepter pot. I'm gonna link to for you actually to see if you wanted to get yourself a similar pot. I mean, Zepter pots are amazing because they are such high quality insulated stainless steel that you can actually, with any stainless steel, good quality stainless steel, you should be able to actually fry things non-stick. What you need to do, you need to make sure that you heat it enough. So now, as you can see, because these little water droplets are actually just floating around, it means it's got to a non-stick state. So let me just clean that off. So now we can actually put our onions. So we've got, normally for this recipe I would do 2 medium-sized onions, but because I want to keep some for the spag ball mixture that we're going to make, that I'm actually had extra onion in here. So there's 3 medium-sized onions. And let that fry for a couple of minutes. So see, I think I've left it a little bit too long on the heat. You want to preheat it. My induction hob is very quickly heating. I'll link as well if you're after an induction hob. This is a fairly good one. So yeah, so deglaze the pan with a bit of water and then keep on browning. As you can see, the onions, I'm cooking without oil and they're getting nice and brown. So now I'm going to add my carrots. So this is 3 carrots as well. Normally for this recipe I would use a couple of carrots, but I want to keep some, I want to leave some for another recipe, so it's quite good to just cook it, you know, fry it in bulk. You're saving yourself some time, because this is kind of the 3 basics. I normally have celery as well, so for this recipe I will add in the ingredients celery too, but I haven't got any celery actually today, so I'm gonna skip it. So you would need 2 sticks of celery for this recipe as well. And like I say, I'm doing more carrots, more onions than I would normally do for this jackfruit, barbecue jackfruit recipe. I would have probably a couple of onions, couple of medium carrots, and couple of sticks of celery. So we need to fry them nicely until they're kind of starting to turn golden. And then we're gonna be adding other ingredients. And I'm gonna give away a little secret that I like doing towards the end of carrots and onions being fried. I like to put 2-3 tablespoons of ketchup, and it kind of just nicely gives that sweetness and a bit of sourness, and it just really caramelizes and completes this carrots, fried carrots and onion. However, I don't have any ketchup on hand, so instead what I'm going to put 1 tablespoon of tomato puree. So essentially I'm trying to recreate a ketchup. So a tablespoon of tomato puree and 1 tablespoon of maple syrup, just to give that sweetness. So yeah, and then just mix that up. And once you mix these in, let it cook for another couple of minutes to just kind of caramelize. So now the onion carrot mixture is done, so I'm gonna put some aside for our spag ball, maybe 1/3 of it, and then the rest of it I'll put it out in a glass container for now, just so that we can fry the mushrooms as well. So now I've kind of rinsed the pan a little bit and I've reheated it. So we're gonna add 2 punnets of shiitake mushrooms, and then there's a little bit of oyster mushrooms mixed in, but really you only need kind of 1 punnet, about 200-250 grams of mushrooms, but I've got 2 to use up, so again I'm doing a double portion, and I'm gonna keep some for my bolognese, but some we'll be using for the barbecue jackfruit. As you probably realized, you know, a lot of times I just kind of add and take out things as I have them, or, you know, as I need to use them up. So yeah, we're just gonna fry some mushrooms. And initially the mushrooms might stick a little bit because we're frying on the medium to high heat, but inside they normally have quite a bit of water, so they should be releasing this soon. If you see it's really sticking again, put a couple of tablespoons of water. But like I said, don't overdo with mushrooms, because like I said, they already have quite a bit of water inside them, and they start releasing it at some point. So make sure don't don't add too much water too quickly. So the mushrooms have cooked now. I'm gonna put a little bit away for our spag bol mixture we're gonna be making. So about 1/3, but most of it I'm gonna leave it, and what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna add a cup of stock that I've put in 1 teaspoon of vegan bouillon powder. So I'll add a cup of stock, and then I'm gonna add our jackfruit. So these are the 2 cans of jackfruit we prepared earlier. And then I'm gonna add all the spices. So garlic powder, I'm gonna put half a teaspoon of garlic powder. In fact, I'll do a teaspoon because there's quite a bit of mixture here. So a teaspoon of garlic powder, and a teaspoon of smoked paprika as well. And of course, since we're making barbecue jackfruit, I've got 1/4 cup of barbecue sauce. So I'll add that in. Then we add our carrots and onion mixture. In fact, for this amount, because I'm doing quite a bit here, I would suggest you put about 1/2 cup of barbecue sauce. I'll see if I've got some more to add. So I've got a little bit left. That's the last of my barbecue sauce. But yeah, so put 1/2 cup of your favorite barbecue sauce to this amount, because this is double jackfruit cans that we are making. That's what I love about cooking, that it's not a precise art. You can, you know, kind of add a little bit more, a little bit less, replace it with things. It's not as strict as baking. With baking, if you got the amounts wrong or you substituted for the wrong thing, then it's not gonna work. It's gonna be a disaster. Whereas with cooking, you can get away with so much more than in baking. So now I'm gonna put my my lid, and I'm gonna leave it on kind of medium low. In fact, 3 is probably enough. And I'm gonna let it kind of slowly cook for about 10-15 minutes. The great thing about these pots is that once it reaches kind of the end of the green bit, or the last red dot on the green bit, you can switch it off. So I'm going to switch it off. It's been about 15 minutes, but I'm going to switch it off and let it kind of stew in its own juices and finish cooking. And in the meantime, we'll be preparing some sour cream. So every week I make at least one sauce. So this week it's going to be a simple sour cream from homemade yogurt. So here I've got a liter of homemade yogurt, and I'm going to just add some into the smaller jam container I've got. So kind of just fill it up, depending how much sour cream you want to make, but it lasts about 5 days or so. In fact, it probably lasts about a week. So yeah, so I've got the sour cream, then I need a pinch of salt, so maybe like less than a quarter of a teaspoon, so a little bit of salt, and 1 teaspoon of apple cider vinegar for this amount. For half a liter would be about a tablespoon. Yeah, so that is how simple it is to make sour cream from the homemade soy yogurt. And I'll link to the recipe how easy it is to make homemade yogurt for yourself. This is made from store-bought soy milk. And yeah, just except I think my little container is too small. Let me just pour it into this one, and I can blend it there. I ran out of a wider mouth little containers, so that is literally takes a couple of seconds, and this is your sour cream. Yum. Quite tangy, depending how tangy you like it. If you don't like your sour cream too tangy, perhaps just leave the apple cider vinegar out, or put just half a teaspoon. If you like your sour cream tangy, then this is perfect. So let's have a look at our BBQ Jackfruit. It's nice and moist, and yeah, it's fairly soft. You could potentially cook it for another 10 minutes or so, so that your jackfruit is even softer. And it wouldn't be a proper full recipe if I didn't taste test it for you. So try and take a little bit of jackfruit and some mushroom. It actually needs a little bit of salt and possibly soy sauce, so I think I'm going to add 2-3 tablespoons of soy sauce and mix it through. But other than that, it's delicious. No, it's nice. It'll go so nice in a butter bowl, because that's what I'm kind of planning to do. To have a bowl with some rice, because I'm doing some mixed 3-color rice, so it's red, black, like wild rice, and brown basmati. So 3-color rice, a bit of beans, so I've got kidney beans, a bit of this jackfruit, and perhaps some, a salad or something with some sour cream on it. So that's gonna be really nice for that. So this is the whole lot of my meal prep today. It took probably double the length of time for me because I'm filming the videos for you, but I would say you probably would manage to do that in about 3 hours. or even 2.5, depending, you know, what else is happening in your kitchen. But so I've got 2 bits of roast seitan, so that'll be great on sandwiches with pita. I'll need to make myself some hummus, and you put some hummus, put a few slices of this, is delicious. And obviously we'll have them next to rice in the Buddha bowls, and just in general, you know, it's great as snacks. So I've got some 3 color rice here. I've got the BBQ Jackfruit, which, you know, we can have again with pita, with rice in a Buddha bowl. We've got some beans, so we can add to the Buddha bowl, or also I'm going to use some of it to mix with the fried onion and carrot and mushrooms to make it like a spag bol with 1 tin of chopped tomatoes, a bit of molasses or maple syrup for some sweetness, and some you know, and then some maybe salt or soy sauce, and just mix it up and have that with whole grain spaghetti. And then this is sour cream to have it with any of these meals, you know, in a Buddha bowl or on spaghetti bolognese, for example. So this is week 2 done and dusted. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you got some ideas. And in addition to what you've seen me cook and prepare here, we're having our fruit smoothies as usual with some greens. I'll link to a description of a traditional, a kind of typical smoothie for us, and also we would have different kind of salads, and sour cream can be very deliciously used for a salad with some tomatoes, some cucumbers, a bit of salt, a bit of onion, and it's a delicious salad. Even just the tomato, onion and some sour cream is just an amazing salad as a little side salad. So yeah, so that's kind of how we eat, and obviously we'll probably need to supplement something, but just to give you a little tip how I normally meal prep, I would cook at least 1 bean, at least 1 grain or 2 grains most of the times. Then I would cook a dish and potentially probably a soup, and then, you know, a couple of other bits like some potatoes or roast vegetables. This time was seitan. So yeah, and 1 sauce as well, at least 1 sauce. Sometimes I would make hummus, sometimes like a salad sauce, so something like that. So yeah, that's kind of the basics that we normally meal prep. So let me know, what are your staples every week? Do you cook something every week? Would be interesting to know. If you're new here, welcome to the meal prep for weight loss show that I do every Saturday, and then I release also new recipe videos every Wednesday. If you're new to this channel, subscribe so you don't miss a new video, and hit that bell notification button to be notified when a new video comes out. And remember, food is fuel, so be mindful of what you put in the body. Until next time.